So, how are you today?
Good, I'm good, thank you.
Good, glad to hear. So last time when we had met, you were discussing with me about struggling with anxiety and hypervigilance associated with your post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yeah.
which stems from your time in the military when you
Yes.
were actively serving our
Mhm.
country. So one of the things that I had talked about with you was going through and tracking your thoughts this week between last session and this session. And so I want to go over that with you today. But before we do that, I want to see how you've done this week.
Done okay. I mean, I'm doing a little bit better. I'm still very tired most of the time. I kind of get exhausted from just being like so vigilant all the time. Still having trouble sleeping at night. I don't sleep very much, but I've been eating a little bit better, healthier. I've been fitting in 3 meals a day, so as opposed to hardly any.
Yeah, so you're still having issues with the anxiety, but you're finding that you're sleeping a little bit more and eating a little bit healthier?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so with that, did you have any issues with hot thoughts or anxiety, negative issues this week?
Yeah, I did. I don't know, feeling a little paranoid sometimes, especially in the morning time or in the evening. That's usually when I'm alone at the house. I have some thoughts, like I get paranoid. I think someone's gonna like come in my house or something. Like I'm always looking out the window, constantly checking the doors, especially at nighttime. Every little noise just kind of throws me off and just throws me into like, I go to 0 to 100 real quick. And especially at nighttime, so I guess anxiety.
Is there anybody else at home with you, or is it just you by yourself?
In the morning times and the nighttime, I'm by myself. Middle of the day, my kids are at school, my wife's at work.
Okay, so your schedule is not to where you are at home with anybody at any one time, so you're just alone?
It's totally weird, and it's kind of out of whack, so I'm at morning times and for a big part of the nighttime, I'm by myself.
It must be very difficult for you.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little hard, yeah.
So let's look at your thoughts. Like I said, I had you track last week. Your assignment was to track your hot thoughts or your negative thoughts through this week, and to kind of write down what those thoughts were and when you were having them, and the emotions that it facilitated and how you were dealing with those negative responses. So I'm looking at this, I see that, as you had just stated, that a majority of your negative or your hot thoughts are coming at a time when you're at home by yourself, and that you are thinking that someone might break into your home, and both the evening and at night, at a time that you, I would assume, are feeling most vulnerable. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so and with that, when you're first experiencing that and going through that, the first thing that's going through your mind is that you're scared. Is that what that's here?
Yeah.
Okay. And your emotion, it looks like you have some paranoia that goes with that you've identified, and on the scale of 0 to 10, you've identified those emotions on a 7. And then I had asked you to look at potential alternate responses to your initial thought that somebody's going to break into your home, and you had thought to yourself that, or reminded yourself that your home is your safe place, and that nobody can enter your safe place. And so with that, you came up with a 2 from from escalating from a 7 down to a 2. So one of the other things that I want to do with you today, now that we've tracked what your thoughts are, is I want to give you some coping cards. Is that something that you would be willing to work with?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So the purpose of the coping card is it's twofold. At one side, it identifies what your thought is. And so if you're having these reoccurring thoughts at night and in the morning that someone is going to be breaking into your house at a time where you're feeling the most vulnerable, it's to remind you of that thought. And as soon as you have that thought, you flip it over and you have a motivational or positive thought that is triggered, so that the more and more you have that thought, the more positive thoughts you're going to have about that negative thought. And hopefully over time, as soon as you keep seeing those negative, the positive thought will come into play and your negative thoughts will go away. Okay? So there are a couple of ways that we can do this. You can either carry a card with you, a little index card that has the negative thought, and on the back side of it, it has the motivational quote on it, which that time you'll have it in your wallet, and then so you can pull it out at any time that you're having this thought, like whether it be at home or whether it be in the store or somewhere, you can pull it out, look at it, and then flip it over and see your motivational quote. The other option is to put it on your phone. And then to go ahead and set an alarm, so that way when you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you see is that motivational quote, because obviously based upon this tracking here, it looks like you have that hot thought when you wake up and then also at night when you're going to bed. So there's that option. The other option that I'd like to suggest to you is, do you work with a computer at all during the day?
I do, but I'm mostly on my phone.
You're mostly on your phone?
I'm always looking at my phone constantly.
So the other option is, if you think that you might be at your computer, is to have that motivational quote scroll across like on your screensaver, so that anytime during the day you're seeing it. But I think that for you, it sounds like the cell phone might work better for you.
Definitely.
Okay, so why don't we work together to kind of come up with some like what you would consider a motivational quote. I do have a couple of suggestions for you if you think one might fit. If it doesn't fit, then we can, like I said, work together to find one. So does that work for you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So one of the quotes that, because I've gone through a couple of them, and I'll read them off to you and you let me know, yes, no, doesn't really fit for this situation. Okay? So one quote is by Buddha, and it is, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection."
Not really.
Not really? Okay. So another one that I came up with is Jesse Jackson. It was by him, and it says, "You are not responsible for being down, but you are responsible for getting up."
No.
Okay. And then don't compromise yourself. You are all you have.
No, I don't think that fits me.
No? Okay. And then how about this one? This one, let me know what you think on this one. "No feeling is ever final."
Yeah, that's more appropriate for how my whole situation. I think that one's good.
And how you're feeling?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that, when you hear that, how does that make you feel?
Well, I feel like I can, like a sense of self-control. I feel like I'm the one who's really responsible for how I feel. And if I'm feeling a certain way, I think that kind of like inspires me for me to take action and change that. So I think in my situation, I feel paranoid or whatever, or hypervigilant. That doesn't mean it has to always be that way. I can change it myself.
Okay, so why don't we get your phone, and what we can do is set times. I would say at least 2 times, right? Because like I said, it seems to be more in the morning and at night when you're home by yourself. Set 2 times where it looks like here you get up at about, what, 7:30 in the morning?
7:30.
And so 7:30 in the morning, I would go ahead and set your alarm and have that quote pop up for you. And then when you get home, maybe twice when you're at home, if you think that you need it.
Yeah.
So like when you first get home and after you're getting settled in and things have quieted down, you probably, I would, from what you've told me, your thoughts start to wander around that time after you're done with chores.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would do is maybe, so you get home about what, 6 o'clock?
6:30.
Okay, so why don't you set it for like 7:30ish? So set another one with that motivational reminder, that quote, and then maybe once again before you go to bed, whatever that looks like for you. What time do you usually go to bed?
I usually go to bed around 10 or 11.
10 or 11?
Yeah.
And then maybe another one like maybe 11 o'clock.
That's fine.
Okay, and then have it set 3 times, so that way you are constantly reminded that no feeling is final.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, it works. It's
Okay,
perfect.
so what I think is that, why don't you try this for a week? We'll see how that goes for you, and then the next visit, you'll report back to me and let me know.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
perfect.
Have a-
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Bye-bye.